Hello students. So today we are going to learn a very important chapter which is very new to all of you, as you have just passed out from 10th and you haven't studied such kind of part earlier or in your previous standards. So we are today going to deal with a literary genre, that is drama. Let's discuss about this chapter. Drama is a performance which is exaggerated and larger than life. It is an audiovisual medium. When we read a drama or watch it in theater, we should never think much of the realism and logic present in it. We can call it willing suspension of disbelief. Actually, this term is coined by S.T. Coleridge, a very great poet and an aesthetic philosopher. It refers to our willingness to overlook the limitations of a medium. This means we have to suspend our disbelief for the sake of enjoyment and to entertain ourselves. Whatever is presented on stage or in the book, we have to accept it without thinking much about the realism and logic in it. We just have to accept it for the sake of entertainment. Drama is totally different to novel and poetry. We are given two definitions in the book. Let's discuss them. The very first definition is from Shorter Oxford Dictionary. It says, drama is a composition in verse or prose to be acted on the stage, in which a story is related by means of dialogue and action and is represented with accompanying gestures, costumes, and scenery as in real life. So, here the drama is called as a composition either in the form of prose or in the form of poetry, which is acted on the stage. Second definition is given here. Drama is a composition designed for performers in theatre, in which actors take the roles of the characters, perform the indicated action, and utter the written dialogue. This is a definition taken from a glossary of literary terms by M.H. Abrams. So, this definition also states that it is a composition solely designed for the performance in the theatre, in which actors play the roles of the characters and they utter the written dialogue. Thus, we can conclude that drama is a medium of expression whereby performers express themselves very artistically on the stage. So, students, now we are going to deal with a short history of English drama. Obviously, it's very difficult to trace the origin of English drama. However, whatever part has been prescribed to us, we will try to know about the history of English drama. The very first period is medieval period. It spans between 11th century and 15th century. It was the reign of Henry VI. It is said that Romans in this era established amphitheaters, a theater with sloping galleries with seats for the spectators. But these theaters departed with Romans' departure. Then minstrels, that is folk singers were introduced, and obviously people enjoyed their performances a lot. Between the 13th and 14th century, dramas developed into the rudiments, that is, basics of a play. At that time, most of the rituals were performed, and those rituals were performed in the form of a play. This means uh, when they got the basic of a play, it had themes, it had longer dramatic scripts, even it had dialogues in them. So, most of the dramas and plays were connected with religious themes. Types of plays which were performed on the stages were didactic plays, mystery plays, morality plays, miracle plays. The stories from the Bible were enacted on stage to teach the people, and that was actually the purpose of the then dramas. And people were taught through different allegories, where the animals were treated as characters, or the virtues and vices were such kinds of abstract ideas were taken in order to teach the people. So the dramas in the medieval period were totally connected with the religious themes. Then comes Elizabethan theatre, the second period. It was between 1600 to 1700. This period is also known as Renaissance period. At that time, there was a reign of Queen Elizabeth. So, this period is known after her name. It is considered as the golden period in the history of England, as it was marked by peace and prosperity. It was an era when there was a new interest in art, literature, science, and learning. So the general themes were education, art, general moral problems, and secular politics. Very importantly, the plays had no connection with religion because of such background. They were totally secular, means they were not exactly presenting what was actually presented in medieval period. Both tragedy and comedy plays were developed in this era. The prime dramatists in this period were William Shakespeare, Thomas Kidd, and Christopher Marlowe. Obviously, Thomas Kidd, Christopher Marlowe had also great contribution to make the comedy famous in this era. Public theatres were introduced in the 16th century. How were they? Yes, they were open to sky. No artificial lighting was there. No curtains were there. Main platform surrounded on three sides by the audience. Galleries were there around the theatre. But those open theatres, or the theatres open to sky, in the 17th century turned into enclosed theatres, and obviously they got more importance. But whenever we talk about Elizabethan theatre or Renaissance period, it is absolutely incomplete without a name of a very great dramatist, and he was obviously William Shakespeare. He manipulated Elizabethan stage with his brilliance and great resources. So the period is also known as Shakespearean era. Contemporary to him was Ben Jonson, a classicist, a moralist, and a reformer who also showed his genius in comedy. Then came a turn, a twist, and that was closing of theatres by the Puritans. Puritans, the members of a religious reform or movement, believed that the plays performed in the theatre were completely against all the rituals in Christianity. So they decided to purify Anglican, that is English churches, by closing the theatres. It was their belief that if they closed the theatres, the Christianity or the religious principles and rituals in Christianity would never be spoiled by them. And so civil wars took place, and they banned the theatres, they closed the theatres. As a result, no theatres existed between 1642 and 1660. It was a great or the worst time for drama. Almost for 16 years, the theatres were closed. Then comes the restoration comedy. You know the meaning of restoration, that is, to get back something. It was the reign of Charles II, and this era starts from 1660 onward. Obviously, as the Charles II came into power, theatres were reopened. So we can say drama was restored once again to its earlier glory, to its magnificence, for which it was known for. Drama developed into class drama, where upper class ideology was presented. It exactly portrayed the life of upper class people. The dramas in this period commented on their mannerism, lifestyle. They even mocked at them. That is, the rich class people, the upper class people. And therefore, it gave a rise to a new genre of comedy. And it is a comedy of manners, where the lifestyle mannerism of upper class were totally ridiculed. The prime exponent of this period or of this comedy was George Etheridge. Goldsmith and Sheridan also continued his tradition with new brilliance. However, dramas in this period lack depth in content which we can experience in the Elizabethan dramas. So, comparatively, they didn't have that much depth in content as we experienced or experience in Elizabethan dramas. Other types of dramas which were developed in this period are heroic drama, pathetic drama, it was more sentimental, and restoration comedy. Let's move to the next period. It's a Victorian period. It was between 1837 and 1901, when it was a reign of Queen Victoria. Obviously, as the years were passing, theatres were undergoing a lot of changes. Modern theatres came into existence in new avatar, in new form, in this Victorian period. How were they? Picture film theatre or stage was introduced. Actresses started playing roles of female parts, which clearly means that in the earlier periods, male were playing the roles of female parts. But from this period onward, actresses started playing the roles. Visual image created by movable scenery on the stage, that is, effective use of props was being done, artificial lighting was done. However, 19th century can also be seen as when drama was on the way to decline. Some reasons are there. First one was irregular spectacles. Then second one was the dramas presented on stage or written were having more melodrama, that is exaggeration of emotions, and farce, which means too many complicated situations were involved, and therefore it was very confusing. It was very unrelated to the life of the time. So, in another word, I can say that it was totally unrealistic. One more thing, that there was a clear monopoly of two houses, Covent Garden and Drury Lane. So that was also considered as the reason for the decline of drama. Even audience were lacking the intelligence and imagination of the Elizabethan audience. Yes, in the 19th century, many changes have had taken place. New interpretation of human personality, influenced by new structural changes, was required or expected by the audience. They exactly wanted their life on the stage or in drama, and this need of the audience readers was not catered by the drama, and this was catered by the novels. So, rise of the novel is also considered as one of the reasons for the decline of the drama. Yeah, then in the let's move to the modern theater, that was from 1901 to 1945. Drama started gaining popularity once again. It was dominated by Ibsen, the great Norwegian dramatist. Obviously, let me clear here a thing, that when the drama was on the way to decline in Victorian era, credit goes to Ibsen, that once again he brought the drama to its own popularity. Because in the Victorian period, drama was totally away from reality, but he developed modernist, realist, social, and psychological dramas where people or audience found their own lives to be reflected. Somehow they connected themselves with the life on the stage. More than this is, the dramas were subtle in stagecraft and they were profound in thoughts. George Bernard Shaw was deeply influenced by Ibsen's innovation and experimentation in modern drama or modern theatre. He continued his legacy and elevated the English drama to the brilliance of the Norwegian. The early 20th century drama showed the talent with which 19th century drama couldn't compete. It absolutely explored the contemporary problems and therefore they were more realistic. Some of the important playwrights of the early 20th century were H. Granville Barker, John Galsworthy, Saint John Erwin. Important dramatists of Irish revival, they were Lady Gregory, W. B. Yeats, J. M. Singe. The dramas marked with tragic irony, a violent species of humor, and a rich and highly flavored language. Obviously, somehow from the early 20th century, drama exactly started portraying what the contemporary society was, what the people were exactly wanting. Then, if we come or discuss the drama between 1945 to till date, we come to know that T.S. Eliot, he experimented with Greek tragedy, and the result was absolutely awesome. John Osborne wrote on people who grew up after the Second World War, frustrated anti establishment young people were also the themes of the play. It was a more cultural phenomena. than the work of literature. In one word, I can say that it was more realistic. And this is what people wanted. People wanted their life to be reflected on stage. People wanted to connect themselves with the characters in the drama. And this is what exactly done by the modern dramatist and playwright. Now, let's discuss about Indian theatre. The earliest seeds of modern Indian drama are found in the Sanskrit drama. A feasible date for the beginning of theatre in India is found in the book Mahabhasya. It was written by Patanjali, a sage, in Marathi, Rishi Muni. It began in the 1st century AD, and obviously it flourished till the 10th century AD. It was obviously a period of peace in the history of India. Though we see here some feasible dates for the beginning of the drama, the major source of evidence for the development of Indian theatre is found in the book Natya Shastra, that is dramatology, which was written by Bharat Muni. It is a treatise on theatre that gives mythological account, that is description of the origin of theatre. And obviously the modern Indian drama is influenced from all over the world, as well as Sanskrit and Urdu tradition. So this is what a short history of drama. So students, now let's have a brief look on the elements of drama. These are the constituents which make a drama a perfect package to read or to watch. The very first element of drama is the plot. What is plot? It is a complete story which is presented in the series of events. It has its beginning, its middle, and an end. Then, the second important character of drama is characters. The characters are the performers acting on the stage. The protagonist is the main character in a play. This may be either a male or a female, and the antagonist is a villain in the play. He is a man or a woman of evil intention, or of a bad nature. There are some other characters, some are round or dynamic characters, some are very flat characters. Round and dynamic characters develop as the drama proceeds further. However, a flat or static characters remain uh, as it is throughout the story. Characterization actually shows the qualities, the peculiarities, the traits of the characters. In other words, we can say it gives insight into their personalities. Language is also a very important element where we can discuss about the dialogues, monologue, and soliloquy. Dialogue is the soul of any drama. It involves two speakers, and therefore it makes the drama more lively. In the monologue, a character speaks to himself or to herself in a loud voice. It is a long dramatic speech by one person who prevents other persons or characters from talking or expressing their opinions. A little different to this is soliloquy. It's a swagat in Marathi. The character's thought process is expressed aloud by himself or herself. It actually shows what is going on in the minds of the characters. It reveals the true nature of the character. And so we can say it is a dramatic speech in the play in which a character who is alone on the stage speaks his or her thoughts aloud. Then another element of drama is stage direction. Already the information is given in the tree diagram. Stage directions are actually guidelines or suggestions given by the dramatist to the performers about what to do on the stage. They are the clear cut instructions from the dramatist to the performers. They give clues on when actor should enter and exit. Along with the acting performance, the use of set lighting, music, costumes, props on the stage also include in it. Conflict is another element of drama, and it is the essence, the core part of drama. It is actually a struggle between two opposing forces. There are two kinds of conflicts. One is external conflict, that is a conflict with external elements or the external forces. This may be human, this may be natural. And another conflict is internal conflict, that is struggle with oneself. It obviously enlightens life, it grants dignity to the character, and every conflict, yes, it brings a development of drama. We can call it a backbone of a drama. It actually accelerates the drama to proceed further. Then last element of the drama is theme. A theme is the central idea around which the complete plot revolves. It focuses on the subject of the play. Now it can be implicit, that is indirect, or explicit, that is direct. There can be a number of sub themes that portray, show, or represent human life. The theme actually helps to convey the message of the playwright. So these are the elements of drama. Overall, we have seen it. Now, if we see the features of one act play, they are also not so different to those elements. However, one act play and drama have some difference, and I think after we see the features of one act play, we will know about it. A one act play is not exactly a shortened play, it is also a complete story which has to be performed on stage in a given time. Then, what are the features of one act play? First is the action is very much confined to a single place. The number of characters are limited. It is very simple in design. It has quick effects. It has either one or more scenes. It is very short in manner. It has a single dominant theme. It deals with the problems of everyday life. It also gives introduction of stage direction. It also creates mood and atmosphere. Setting is also very important here, where we can find the unit of time and place, and obviously action. It has the simplicity of plot, concentration of action, and unity of impression. The dialogues are very witty, very pungent, and concise. For example, to be or not to be, that is the question. This way, the dialogues are very short. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and very importantly, it presents a question for the audience whose answers are eagerly awaited by them. It has also four stages: exposition, that is very brief, and it is the introduction of the play where the characters are introduced, their relationship with each other is introduced, even what the play is about, slightly we get to know about it. Then another stage of this one act play is conflict. Obviously, it is a development of drama, it is a backbone. Then there is a third stage, that is climax, and it's a very important part in the story, as it gives or it brings turning point, twist in the story, and absolutely it takes our curiosity to the highest level. And in the last stage is denouncement. It is also very brief, and it often overlaps the climax. So in this way, uh, we have seen the features of the one act play. So it's not so much difference between them, except one is a very longer and another is very shorter.